Would a solid civilian, aka a person doesn't bang, would he have? Can he have a voice in prison?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He might be a non-affiliate, but his ties and his loyalties in the war situation might be to the demographic where he grew up. So even though he's not a gangbanger, he might ride with the collective San Diego car. And if anything transpired with the San Diego car, if he was depended on to be a warrior, then he would definitely be embraced and have a voice. It don't matter if he's a gang member. He might not have a voice within those particular gang settings because there's a politic that he's not aware of. But when it comes to the collective, if there was a San Diego car and he was a non-affiliate that was attached to the San Diego car, he would definitely have a voice.
Ooh, okay.
Especially if he's proven to be a warrior in the past, and his conduct warrants his voice having a volume to it. But if he was a bullshit character, then it wouldn't matter if he was a non-affiliate or a gang member; he'd be muted. You know.
Now, do you have like a story on a situation like that you remember?
In terms of somebody from San Diego having a well, no, but I do know this. I'll say this: there was an individual who came up and he grew up in a traditional Hispanic neighborhood, and people were trying to say that he was a Hispanic before, but yet out of all his tattoos, he didn't have any Hispanic gang tattoos or anything. So being that his disposition was that of a person who grew up influenced by the Hispanic culture, even though he was black, you could tell he had that manifestation that wasn't necessarily the black side of the urban demographic, but the cholo side. But that didn't warrant him not getting a fair shake, because if you can't prove that this man, and then since when Mexicans are very thorough,
Yeah.
if this man was claiming they demographic at any time, they would have had valid information and they wouldn't be leaving it on the blacks to deal with it. They would have handled it themselves because he would have been deemed a turncoat from their organization. So I'm just saying all that to say, even though this brother was a non-affiliate, being that he was from San Diego and specifically National City, where I got a personal tie to and grew up with, I stood up for him and represented him at the table just in the voices of reason. You know what I'm saying? Like to
Mm.
get that brother a fair shake. Everybody deserves a fair trial, homie, especially a stand-up nigga. One of the worst things that can happen is you not receive a fair trial from your own collective, and that's what we call dirty and selective politicking. When you can't receive no fair trial, bro, motherfuckers ain't gonna give you the due diligence and the due process of analyzing all the information and weighing it as opposed to, in accord with what's right and not doing the popular thing. Yeah, we'll never be able to have no organization, no forward push. It had to be some type of modus operandi and rules and regulations and structure that we allow to dictate our strides. You know what I'm saying?
Are people more addicted? And speak on what you can, but do you feel like people are more dependent on drugs inside of the walls or outside of the walls, or is it the same?
I was getting to this as well. I
Run
lost my
that.
train of thought.
Run
But
that.
even with the drugs, it's a lack of a principle, bro. If you have a principle that you stand on, a foundation, then I would hope that in the midst of struggles, those will be the things that you lend on in order to refocus yourself or refoundate your stance. You know what I'm saying? When you start to wobble and waver, you start to garner and rely on those principles and those teachings that make you who you are and that invigorate your stance. So that was always enough for me. And like I said, understanding that my representation was of a greater, and I never wanted to let my elders down or be, just be seen as being less than authentic in the eyes of those who support me and believe in me, homie. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to let my supporters down. So even when times get hard, I done relied on the ancestors. I done relied on a lot of things to where drugs never got an opportunity to be relied on because I had so much other more tangible things to rely on where the drugs never became necessary.
Mm. Now, I know we go all over the place, but yeah, double back as far as the things you do to keep your mind right and exact when you're in solitary.
I exercise, I read, I meditate, I stay in contact with family, whether now we got these tablets, but I used to write, you know what I'm saying? And always keep the mind strong, because the mind is responsible for everything. The body is going to do what the mind tell it. The mind ain't going to do what the body tell it. You feel me? So you got to stay mentally strong and, understand that psychological warfare is just as powerful as the bullet.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because a lot of people miss the bullet, but they get killed by the psychological warfare. Or they miss the bullet and the psychological warfare and die from the chemical warfare, which is this fentanyl and this crystal methamphetamine and all these different chemical concoctions that are also aspects of warfare. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? So the chances of you succeeding are less because you have so many of these other pitfalls and obstacles that are set up in order to detour you from the victory that invigorate the people and keep them fighting for their freedom. You know what I'm saying?
I dig.
It's by design. It's by design. A lot of people don't have that pride no more, homie, and that affects the overall function on these penitentiary yards. So with that being said, just like within society, homie, which is again a bigger representation of the microcosm of prison, homie, is deteriorated for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like education has been pushed to the back burner. It seems like ignorance is at the forefront. And it's the same way in the penitentiary a lot of times. But I noticed that in reading even Comrade George back in 1969, he was arguing some of the same gripes that you would think that in the most strenuous aspects of the struggle, which the prison industrial complex represents, that brothers would have enough influence and motivation to be that much more connected and bonded on the oppressed level. But in actuality, it's the opposite. Brothers is that much more disenfranchised, disorganized, and basically running amok, homie. And we seeing that now. Now the drugs is real prevalent. A lot of brothers been dying. Matter of fact, 2 twin brothers died day before yesterday in the cell together. Well, I ain't gonna say twin brothers, but 2 biological brothers died on some fentanyl, both of them at the same time. Ain't that something?
Wow.